A week ago today, I was walking into the District Electoral Commission 224 in Sevastopol, Crimea, which is about 10 years, give or take a few months, from the first time I had visited the city. Warmly welcomed by commission members with whom our veteran observers already had relationships. I have to say that I was very impressed with the responsibility that the commission members had. Everywhere we saw, there were full commissions, there were full amounts of observers, and I think one of the quotes that really sticks in my mind was from an observer, a committee member who was assigned from Yanukovych. I asked him which group he was from. He said, well, you know, I'm on the list from Yanukovych, but today we're all state servants, and our job is administering an election. The election really was, to me, a victory for the common citizens like these commission members and the voters. I saw that in the 6 places I was at. The people I talked to saw in dozens of others. I understand there are evidence of irregularities, and I think I would agree that court cases are appropriate. Ukraine is a young system, and getting feedback into the system and fixing and identifying what happened and what didn't happen is an important thing to do. But I also would agree, and I think informally most people from all camps would agree that that's very unlikely to influence the final result. Well, I would look at the election then as the successful culmination of the Orange Revolution. The people's commitment to a democratic process succeeded, despite worrying action by the political elites. The law was already mentioned. I would add some orders that were given on the Friday before the election to security forces to clear out certain parts of the city and the tents around the Central Election Commission, which the security forces, as they did in 2004 and 2007, did not allow themselves to be politicized. And in the end, the agreement was that the Yanukovych supporters around the Central Election Commission would remove their flags from the fence of the commission, which I think was an appropriate compromise. Well, this kind of compromise and this kind of effort by the security institutions, by the people, really has, to me, put into a box the political competition that makes all the news, and something we should be firmly aware of. This election also confirms the central role of elections as arbiters of political competition. The effort at an elite solution between the first and second round failed. The idea that you would just make a deal with one of the other elite people and you would be able to get to a certain number did not work. That's not the way it works. And there are people I know now who say that the effort that was made in that should have been made to going out to the people. The other thing that's interesting about the election is it has now brought in Eastern voters as stakeholders. In 2004, Eastern voters felt dispossessed. Now they do not. They feel empowered. And you could see that they're proud of the result. This means not only that there's greater stakeholders in the system, but in some ways their leaders may find that they have to be more responsive to their electorate, a newly empowered and mobilized electorate. And then finally, on the election side, I would underline the importance of the international community in supporting institution building. Things like the National Register of Voters, training programs, international observers. The people there were delighted to see us, and they understood that one of the reasons that the Ukrainian election system works well is the international community is there with a constant support and, where necessary, pressure to encourage the elite to stay within the box. As far as the results go, I think they provided a moment of clarity and some marking of the evolution. Ukrainian political life is balanced, almost 50-50, and that's its nature. Those people who for years have said, well, we just wait till one side wins and then it'll be clear what to do, that's not going to happen. And so that makes policy difficult, but it provides for checks and balances, even in an informal way. And over the last 5 years, I saw effort after effort to unbalance the system, sort of quietly failing, as one group or another group put a stop to it. So Mr. Yanukovych has a victory within a limited mandate as president. the blitzkrieg that many in Party of Regions thought they would be able to have with a quick dismissal of the Prime Minister, a no confidence vote, doesn't look so likely, because it's clear that while it would be easy to dismiss the Prime Minister, it would be hard to get a coalition. And there are a lot of the lessons of the Moroz political annihilation in 2007 are weighing on the minds of people who might, particularly from our Ukraine, who might support a coalition, realizing that they would be signing their own political suicide. So there's a great deal of caution about new elections. And in terms of this moment of balance. In moment of fixing evolution, I think we're seeing a transition. Yushchenko is a spent force. His political methods are largely discredited, this personal animosity, the kumstvo. Our Ukraine is at a crisis. It has groups of national Democrats, business groups, selected local elites. Question of whether there will be a Yushchenko bloc. Litvin is fading. That's one of the reasons that he's cautious about pushing for the dismissal of the Prime Minister unless it's clear that there will be a government. And there are new forces, Yatsenuk and Dihipko, have appeared, but they need time to consolidate. And they're tired after the election, as is everybody. So I think, and plus, the final thing is that there are two forces in the country, Party of Regions and Butte, are still clearly the leading forces in terms of the politics. Well, my suspicion is that rather than see a quick effort now at parliamentary change, that the next test will be in municipal elections in the late spring. The challenge for the new president's team now is to balance a few approaches. The question of power, trying to consolidate power and putting effort into that, which in the end risks their political future potentially, if the electorate views them as not addressing the issues. The question of policy, the limited presidential mandate requires cooperation with the other key players if you wish to push policy through. And the Party of Regions has strong factions that need policy solutions for business and for political reasons. And then finally, I think one of the most important ones, and we see this in our own system, is the question of patronage versus institutions. There will be an initial effort and wish for those people who feel that they've supported President Yanukovych to seek positions. But the presidential institutions that are necessary if the new president is going to be effective have been badly weakened over 5 years. And early effort to think not about who's going to be in what position, but how these institutions are going to work. The Secretariat, the Security and Defense Council, the representation in Parliament. This is the Foreign and Defense Ministries. This is urgent in the short run if a Yanukovych presidency is going to be effective. And it is, in some degree, must be balanced with patronage thoughts. And then finally, I would just mention that for the international community, I think it's important for us to stay engaged in support of policy compromise and ensuring the rules of the game, and moving quickly to help to encourage Ukraine to address remaining issues with the election system, not only in terms of OSCE, but also in terms of Council of Europe recommendations, to provide for a more open system and a system where the voters have not only greater the chance to express their views on choices, but greater influence on those choices themselves within the parties, would be a strong issue for us to engage on. And as in 2005, I told my friends, I'll bet you, and I got a lot of dinners out of this, that you'll have new elections before you have a new constitution. I would say the same thing now, and we should not forget about elections. So in the end, the people set an example that I saw. Some supported Yanukovych, some supported Tymoshenko. Together they were able to work and achieve something, and that was a free and fair election. The leadership should take their example, and I think the international community should encourage the creation of a system that allows that bottom-up influence to become even stronger.